You know, right now, at this very moment, someone somewhere is sitting in darkness feeling like they've come to the end of their rope. They've looked at their bank account and there's nothing there. They've looked at their relationships and they're falling apart. They've looked at their health and it's deteriorating. They've looked at their dreams and they seem impossible. And in that moment, they whisper to themselves, there's no way out of this. There's absolutely no way. But I'm here to tell you something that might sound strange at first, something that might even sound impossible to your logical mind. When there seems to be no way, when every door appears to be closed, when every avenue looks blocked, when every option seems exhausted, that's precisely when something magnificent happens. That's when God makes a way. Not your way, not the way you planned, not the way you expected, but a way that's so perfect, so divine, so absolutely right, that when you look back on it later, you'll shake your head in wonder and say, how did that happen? Now, I want you to understand something fundamental here. When I say God makes a way, I'm not talking about some bearded figure sitting on a cloud somewhere pulling strings and making magic happen for you. What I'm talking about is that infinite intelligence, that creative force, that loving presence that flows through all of life. You can call it God, you can call it the universe, you can call it source, you can call it whatever resonates with your heart. The name doesn't matter. What matters is understanding that this power exists. And it exists within you, not separate from you. You see, most of us have been taught to believe that we're separate from God, that we're down here struggling and God is up there watching. We've been taught that we need to beg, plead, pray harder, be good enough, do enough, suffer enough before we deserve God's help. But that's not how it works. That's not how it's ever worked. You are not separate from the divine source. You are an expression of it. You are a piece of it. You are connected to infinite possibility every single moment of your life. Think about it this way. You didn't create yourself. You didn't decide one day, I think I'll be born now. You didn't design your DNA. You didn't make your heart beat. You didn't tell your lungs to breathe. There's an intelligence within you right now that's managing trillions of cells, that's fighting off disease, that's digesting your food, that's growing your hair, that's healing your cuts. You don't have to think about any of it. It just happens. That same intelligence that created you and sustains you, that same force that puts stars in the sky and makes flowers bloom and turns winter into spring, that force is available to you in every circumstance of your life. But here's where most people get stuck. They say, well, if God is so powerful, if this infinite intelligence exists, why am I in this mess? Why is my life falling apart? Why can't I pay my bills? Why am I sick? Why am I alone? And that's a fair question. It's a question everyone asks at some point. But the answer isn't what you think. The answer is that you've been trying to control everything with your limited human perspective. You've been trying to figure it all out with your mind. You've been trying to force solutions, manipulate circumstances, push doors open that are meant to be closed. You've been living from your ego, from your fear, from your sense of separation, instead of living from that place of connection to the divine within you. Let me tell you something that changed my life when I finally understood it. Your ego, that voice in your head that never stops chattering, that part of you that worries and frets and plans and schemes, that part of you thinks it's protecting you, it thinks it's helping you, but really all it's doing is keeping you locked in a prison of limitation. Your ego can only see what's right in front of you. It can only work with what it knows. It can only create solutions based on past experience. And so when you're facing a situation that seems impossible, your ego looks at it and says, there's no way. We've tried everything. It's over. But your higher self, that part of you that's connected to infinite intelligence, that part of you sees a completely different picture. It sees possibilities you can't even comprehend. It sees solutions you haven't thought of. It sees paths that don't even exist yet, but will materialize the moment you need them. Your higher self isn't limited by time or space or circumstances. It's connected to everything and everyone. It knows things your conscious mind could never figure out. So when there seems to be no way, what's really happening is that your ego has exhausted all of its options. Your limited human mind has run out of ideas. And that's actually good news. That's cause for celebration. Because now, finally, you can get out of your own way and let God work through you. Now you can stop trying to control everything and surrender to something greater than yourself. I know the word surrender scares people. They think surrender means giving up, being weak, being passive, being a victim. But that's not what surrender means at all. Surrender means releasing your grip on how you think things should be and opening yourself to how things could be. It means saying, okay, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I trust that it will. I don't know where the solution is going to come from, but I trust that it's coming. I can't see the way forward, but I trust trust that the way will appear. When you surrender like that, when you genuinely let go and trust, something miraculous happens. You align yourself with that infinite intelligence. You become a channel for divine guidance. You open yourself to inspiration, intuition, synchronicity, and opportunities that you would have missed completely if you'd been trying to control everything. I've seen this happen over and over again in my own life and in the lives of countless people I've worked with. Someone loses their job and they're devastated. They think their career is over. They think they'll never find anything as good. They worry about money, about their future, about what people will think. And then if they can get past that fear and trust, if they can stay open, something better comes along. A job they never would have applied for, a business opportunity they never would have considered, a complete change of direction that turns out to be exactly what they needed, even though they didn't know it at the time. Someone gets divorced and they're heartbroken. They think they'll never love again. They think they've wasted years of their life. They feel like a failure. And then if they can heal and grow and trust, if they can see the divorce not as an ending but as a beginning, they meet someone who's perfect for them. Or they realize they don't need someone else to be happy. They find themselves. They find their purpose. They find a joy and peace they never had in that marriage. Someone gets diagnosed with a serious illness and they're terrified. They think it's a death sentence. They think their body has betrayed them. They feel like a victim. And then if they can shift their perspective and trust, if they can see the illness as a message from their body, as a wake-up call, as an opportunity to change their life, they heal. Maybe not always physically, though often physically too, but emotionally and spiritually. They heal their relationships. They heal their past. They find meaning and purpose they never had before. In every case, what looked like the worst thing that could happen turned out to be the catalyst for the best thing that could happen. But it only worked out that way because these people were willing to trust. They were willing to let go of their own plans and be open to a different plan. They were willing to say, I don't understand this now, but I trust that there's a reason for it. I trust that something good is going to come from this. That's faith. Real faith. Not the kind of faith where you believe in something because someone told you to or because it's written in a book somewhere, but the kind of faith that comes from experience, from seeing over and over again that when you trust life, life supports you. When you trust God, God shows up for you. When you trust the universe conspires on your behalf. Now, I want to be clear about something. This doesn't mean you sit on your couch and wait for God to drop miracles in your lap. This doesn't mean you do nothing and expect everything to work out. That's not trust, that's laziness. What it means is that you do what you can do, you take the actions that are in front of you, you show up fully in your life, but you don't obsess over the outcome. You don't attach yourself so tightly to how things have to turn out that you miss the opportunities that are actually presenting themselves. You know what most people do? They pray for help and then they ignore the help when it comes because it doesn't look the way they expected. They ask for a miracle and then they dismiss the miracle because it seems too small or too ordinary or too different from what they had in mind. They beg God to make a way and then they refuse to walk the path that appears because it's not the path they wanted. That's like standing in front of a door that's wide open and saying, but God, I wanted you to open that door over there, not this one. I'm not going through this door. This isn't the door I prayed for. Meanwhile, the door you're refusing to go through leads exactly where you need to go. But you can't see that because you're so attached to your own idea of how things should work out. This is why surrender is so important. This is why trust is so crucial. Because when you're truly surrendered, when you're truly trusting, you become flexible. You become open. You become willing to follow guidance even when it doesn't make logical sense to your mind. You become willing to take the next step even when you can't see the entire staircase. And that's how God makes a way. One step at a time, one moment at a time, one small action at a time. You don't get the whole plan laid out in front of you. You don't get a roadmap from where you are to where you want to be. You get the next step, just the next step. And when you take that step in faith, the next step appears. And when you take that one, the next one appears. And before you know it, you've walked a path you never could have planned, you never could have predicted, but that's brought you exactly where you needed to be. I want you to think about the times in your life when everything worked out, even though you couldn't see how it was going to. Think about the times when you were worried sick about something and then it resolved itself in a way you never expected. Think about the times when you needed help and it showed up from the the most unlikely source. Think about the times when you needed money and it came from somewhere you never anticipated. Think about the times when you needed guidance and you got a phone call or read a book or had a conversation that gave you exactly what you needed. Those weren't coincidences. Those weren't lucky breaks. Those were examples of God making a way. Those were examples of infinite intelligence working through your life. Those were examples of the universe responding to your needs. And if it happened before, it can happen again. If it happened once, it can happen 1,000 times. If it worked then, it will work now. But you have to trust. You have to surrender. You have to let go of the illusion that you're in control of everything. You have to stop trying to figure it all out with your limited human mind. You have to stop forcing and pushing and manipulating. You have to relax into the flow of life and let yourself be guided. Now, here's something important. When I talk about letting go and surrendering, I'm not talking about being passive in the face of injustice. I'm not talking about accepting abuse or mistreatment. I'm not talking about staying in situations that are harmful to you. Surrender doesn't mean being a doormat. It means being smart enough to know when to act and when to wait. It means being wise enough to know when to fight and when to flow. It means being conscious enough to recognize the difference between a situation that needs to change and a situation that's changing you. Sometimes the way God makes is a way out. Sometimes it's a way through. Sometimes it's a way around. And sometimes it's a way of transforming you so completely that the situation that seemed impossible becomes irrelevant. Sometimes the miracle isn't that your circumstances change. Sometimes the miracle is that you change and then your circumstances reflect that change. You see, we think we need our external world to change before we can be happy. We think we need more money, a better job, a perfect relationship, a healthier body, a different location before we can feel good about our lives. But the truth is exactly the opposite. When you change on the inside, when you shift your consciousness, when you align yourself with love instead of fear, with trust instead of doubt, with faith instead of worry, your external world has no choice but to reflect that change. Your outer world is always a mirror of your inner world. Always, without exception. If your life is chaotic, look at your mind. If your relationships are conflicted, look at your relationship with yourself. If you're struggling financially, look at your beliefs about abundance and worthiness. If you're sick, look at what emotions you've been suppressing.